Well, hello and welcome to the Cigar Professor. It's an age-old question. It's a question that men and women, let's be honest, have been asking themselves probably since there were two different men, really. I mean, when there was only one man, like when there was just Adam, it probably wasn't a question that came up. But as soon as there was the second man, the question of does size matter would have been on the forefront of the human brain for the last 6,000 years of human history. And tonight, we are seeking to contribute to that age-old debate by asking ourselves whether the biggest cigar in the history of the Cigar Professor is also going to be the best, or whether, in fact, Omar has been lying all this time and size really doesn't matter. But look, we'll get to the nitty-gritty of that debate as we go along. This is a spectacular cigar, and as always, we owe its presence in our packs to the one and only Professor Damo, and I can think of no one better to tell us a little bit about this incredible stick than Damo himself. Damo, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing all right, mate. So I remember at the end of pack, or not at the end, early in pack 7, as we were talking about pack 8,
yep,
you made the argument to me that unfortunately, due to the cost of shipping, the cost of inflation, and all the other things, the supply constraints that were going on, that we needed to perhaps bump up the price of the pack a little bit. But in return, you promised me that you'd be able to include some bigger cigars.
Yes.
And holy crap, have you delivered on that promise? This thing is a monster.
It's good, isn't it? I believe it's officially classed a double Corona, 7.5 by 50.
It's
longer than a Churchill.
Yeah, it is.
By half an inch, but it's still longer. So
yeah, and as wide or wider than most Churchills. A lot of Churchills are sitting around the high 40s. It's a phenomenal looking thing, and it actually. Sorry, I'm going to take it out of the cellophane here because, it actually looks like really lovely tobacco as well. I mean, that is pretty. It really is.
And it's actually got a little bit of age on it. This was actually made for release in 2019.
Okay. So was this like one of those sort of single batch ones where they did one big batch and that was it?
That's it, yeah. Never made again. So each year, Southern Draw produce a different batch of cigars, and the idea is that it's goes towards veterans and families of deceased soldiers. And each year they choose a different section of the US Armed Forces. And so in 2019, they chose the Navy SEALs. So that's the Navy SEAL logo on the front there.
Yeah, you can see that, yeah.
And I think it's 12.5% of the cost of the cigar goes towards. So they set a retail price on these of $10 a stick, which is quite expensive in American dollars.
In America, yeah.
And that meant that $1.25 US from every stick sale goes to the war veterans.
And to be clear, it's not to helping fund them in their operations. It's to help fund the ones that have returned, or more importantly, also the families of the ones that have not. So
that's right.
It's a cause that I can get behind, even though I'm very cynical about military adventurism. Looking after the families of the deceased is something I can certainly get behind. So I'm thrilled, Damo, that you found this stick and that you've included it in our pack. Now, I can see that Omar is pining away in the background there. I haven't brought him on yet. Should we bring him on, Damo, or should we just enjoy some quiet time? What do you think?
Well, he's probably enjoying a cigar anyway, so it's not like he's going to be bored. Like
he's not missing out. Let's be honest. Omar knows how to have fun, and let's be completely honest. Omar probably has more fun when we're not around than when we are. So, it's a win-win.
He's got no judgment when he's got multiple cigars on the go.
Yeah, that's right. He's sick of us and our judgy white boy attitudes. Listen, I'll bring him on, but if he upsets you, let me know and I can just take him off, yeah?
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right, okay. Omar, mate, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm good. What's happening, boys?
Mate, so good to see you. I couldn't possibly imagine doing the show without you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So good to see you. I have to say that whole kind of terrorist look that you've got going on is really starting to work for you now.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah,
Well, that's the idea, right?
I don't think you're ever going to be able to get through airport security without being swabbed for bomb residue, ever in your life.
Oh, damn.
What do you reckon?
Wait till he puts on the actual attire to go with it as well.
I've got a serious question for you, Omar, though. I mean, all jokes aside, when you look at this stick, there was one thing that went through my mind, which was Damo is compensating. What do you reckon?
It should be fatter. It doesn't feel right.
You think he's still gone a bit light on?
Well, it's a quote. One of my favorite movies. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of Austin Powers jokes, a lot of Spaceballs jokes. There's a lot of jokes available to us at the moment. But you know what's no joke is this stick is probably a solid hour and 45 minutes. So we should probably get this thing lit up sometime soon. Otherwise, we're going to be here until midnight. Straight cuts, or is anyone doing anything adventurous?
Straight cut for me tonight.
Yeah.
Perfect draw. Perfect draw.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nice.
Bit of fruitiness on the cold draw too.
Okay, so I have a slight tag in the wrapper. There is just this slight tear. So
I saved that one especially for you.
I knew you had. I'm actually, before lighting up, I'm actually going to just dab it with a little bit of the cigar. Oh, excuse me, I'm hiccuping all of a sudden. Dab it with a little bit of the cigar glue.
You've been hitting the bottle early today.
No, listen, I'm being a good boy. All I have today is my black tea. I'm being
I saw that YouTube video and you poured the whole bottle of wine into the glass.
Look, I will admit that by the end of that evening, many hours later, that glass had been drunk. I will confess that. But no, look, I punished my liver severely during COVID, and I'm aware that it's not a sustainable life strategy. So I'm just consciously easing up a little bit now. So no, just the black tea, and just going to trust that the combination of the black tea.
I think they've actually renamed that in Victoria. If you've developed a penchant for large quantities of alcohol, I believe it's now called Andrews syndrome.
Yeah, that's pretty true. It's pretty true. It's a well-recognized problem. I know you're making a joke, but it's a well-recognized problem. Alcohol consumption in Victoria went through the roof. Dan Murphy's, they were barracking for more lockdowns. Thank you very much. They did very, very. I mean, I don't mean that literally. I actually don't know. But the bottle shops did very, very well. There is no doubt about that. Ooh. Nice black tea,
nice and creamy, straight off the cuff for me.
It's just going to give the cigar glue another minute to dry off before I get started.
Just that comment on the drying it up. You remind me of that kindergarten student that never grown up. It's always my wrapper. I gotta wait. I'm a bitch. I'm slow. Give me a break. Like, what the fuck? Get on with it, dude.
Listen. I was kind of curious. I was bored. I was just doing some stuff for fun the other day. I looked up Whinger in the encyclopedia, and they had a picture of you.
Hey. You don't have to look too far. You have to just look at the Cigar Professor.
Look, I know. I should have known. But you know,
episode. My cigar is shit. I'm not doing good. I'm happy. I'm tired. I'm not tired. The fuck?
Now, dude, I do have an apology to make, and the apology is to Rowan and to Kyle. I believe, and I've only just found out about this. Rowan messaged me earlier today, and he didn't even know until earlier today when he went looking for this cigar. I believe we've made a packing error, and actually we only sent 12 cigars in those 2 packs. So I do apologize. We only just found out about it. We are going to obviously fix that, and I apologize that you don't have it in hand for tonight. But I was just chatting with Professor. I was just chatting with Professor Damo. About how the packing error could possibly have happened, and we've agreed it's unanimous.
You know where the problem lies, and I will put my hand up and say that I was definitely at fault. I did not check his pockets or pat him down when he left.
I would say this: I'm 100% sure, not 99.9. We have the single cigar packed separately, and it may look like that the soft whatever material demo used to, because everything was in a box and there was a separate stick. And I have a feeling people might have chucked it, thinking it's just a packaging material. Because we went through
that is a possibility, yeah, because we couldn't get them all into one bag.
I went through every single one of them. Not once, not twice, 4 times. 4 times.
Ooh.
All right.
He went through it 4 times, and he's
so
like,
Omar, in classic Omar style, is saying user error. Is that what you're saying here? You're saying user error.
Not user error. I think that packaging material is quite thick, and we did one cigar separate than the others. And we actually demo. I don't know how good his memory is, which is not amazing, but second time we went in and checked what we put in there before he taped it up.
All right. Well, this is a bombshell. This is bombshell news. But what I can say, I don't even have to check with Damo because I know where his head is at. I know where his heart is at. I can tell you for a fact, we are going to replace those cigars.
Yeah,
okay, because that's just how we roll at the Cigar Professor. I don't even have to check with him. I already know that's where his head is at. So Rowan and Kyle, my apologies. We'll make sure that you get replacements so that you can enjoy one of these a little bit later on. We don't know for sure what happened. Omar obviously is trying to defend his honor. David Lionhelm has come into bat for Omar here, saying Omar might be right. I nearly missed it myself.
Yep.
Look, that might be the case. I refuse to believe it. I prefer the theory where Omar completely fucked up. That's my version, and we are going to replace those cigars. So don't you worry about it.
I have got some really good tasting notes off this cigar to start with. So, right off the cuff, quite creamy, caramel and malt on the palate. The foot smoke to me has actually got this most beautiful, almost cedar and licorice cinnamon sort of note to it. Cedar, cinnamon, licorice note on the foot smoke. And there's also a bit of white pepper on the draw as well.
I got a lot of pepperiness. I'm not sure. It's just my stick or someone else is getting a lot of pepperiness. It's certainly very, very spicy at the beginning.
Plenty of smoke production.
From Lebanon.
That is a lovely light opening. I've only just opened. I was just waiting for the cigar glue to dry a little bit. Lovely, lovely light opening. You're right about the smoke production, Omar. Right off the bat, plenty of smoke. I'm hoping there's a couple of rings rolled into this cigar as well, but we'll find out as we go along. But in terms of smoke production, very, very satisfying. And that's something where a really long cigar can sometimes suffer a little bit in the smoke production because it's just such a long way for the air to actually travel, for you to get the smoke, for you to then produce it as a puff of smoke. But this cigar, lots of smoke right from the offset.
On the retro, I'm also getting a little bit of like sort of almost like those Werther's original lollies.
Yeah,
not the sweetness, but sort of that toasty caramelly note on the retro as well.
Yeah, right.
This is really, really caramelly and creamy with pepper in it for me.
For me, the toastiness I'm definitely getting. The caramel, I'm not so sure about. I might need another minute or two to really nail down what this is, but it's incredibly light. A little bit of bakery spice, but a little bit roasty while still being light. It is that little bit roasty, that little bit toasted nuts.
I would say it's for size burning real fast, faster than an average cigar of this fits all.
Short breaths, Omar, short breaths.
Cigar Man Sam is complaining about the new screen layout. Too close. I can see your faces, he says. Not sure if it's a good idea. So can I just suggest, Cigar Man Sam, that you just watch on your phone or something instead so that we're smaller again?
Take your glasses off.
Yeah, it's not all about you, mate. We can't, the ladies, or one of them that watches maybe once a month, we're requesting a better view. So we've decided to give it to you. Well, Daniel Moore is continuing his audition to be Cigar Professor number 4, getting a hint of burnt caramel and mixed spice cinnamon note and a hint of white pepper. Damn you, Daniel.
Well,
Damn
he's
you
on the
to
money.
hell. Yeah.
He's on the money.
How dare you?
So one of the
Where's-
other things
what's
that's
special,
interesting
Daniel?
with a long cigar like this is, you know, over the course of the packs, we've had cigar where we've had tar build up in the
true.
stick, and when you have really long sticks like this, you're going to get a much bigger build up in. So it'll be interesting to see how, as this cigar progresses and hits around about the halfway point, where we're at with regards to
Without
moisture
question.
in the cigar and also the tarry material coming out.
Now, I'm going to level with you here. I had a really bad experience with one of these, and I assumed it was a one-off. And then Daniel smoked one when I was with him, and I smoked something different. And without me having said a single word, Daniel had the same bad experience. Now, that, of course, makes me very, very worried. But by then, we'd included in the pack. It's got a great reputation. This cigar has a wonderful reputation. So I'm sitting there going, what in the world is going on? I can tell you already, this cigar is not going to give me the same experience as that. I'll talk more about it later on once we're further through the cigar. But I'm going to be trying to figure out all the way through what happened with my cigar, what happened with Daniel's cigar, why did that happen? Because I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen again with this one. It was related to the construction quality, and I'd be very curious to hear from everybody how your burn goes and how everything goes with this.
I've got a hint of muskiness amongst all the notes. Just a light hint of muskiness. It's quite nice.
I was about to say like a nuttiness, but with a bit of funk to it. So yeah, sort of a nutty muskiness.
There was, even on the nose, there was a hay, but it wasn't fully fresh hay. It was old hay. It was a year old sitting in a shed. There is that little bit of funk, that little bit of compost, maybe manure, I'm not quite sure, but certainly that composty hay, the old autumn leaves, kind of a flavor and kind of an aroma to it.
Just about 9 months, I think. Just not a year yet.
9 months and 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Pass it for that.
I wouldn't
So
expect
this
you
cigar's
to.
already 5 years old.
Yeah, right. Now,
So-
actually, sorry, there was a question earlier that I didn't quite note. David asked, I doubt this stick is a 50. It looks more like a 42. Have you measured it? In response to your question, I actually grabbed this. Now, we sent this out with pack. Was this with pack 8 or was this with pack 7, Damo?
Pack 7,
Pack 7?
6 or 7.
And it measures, so I've got a 48, 49, a 50, and a 52, and it definitely matches the 50 best out of all of them. Maybe a fraction undersized, right? Maybe it's a 49 and a half, but it's pretty much bang on that 50. It's definitely nothing like a 46 or 44 or 42. So, no, I think they've sized
Cigars
it
do
correctly.
shrink as they age as well. So as we
But
said,
yeah, they
this
do
is
a little bit.
5 years
but
from manufacture.
It was bigger than a 49. It was smaller than a 50. So I think they've got it pretty much spot on. Oh, wow. Simon reckons it was pack 5 we sent this out.
Wow,
Gosh.
time flies when you're having
Time
fun.
does fly, doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
and
today I sent out the invoices to the 20 current subscribers who are in this pack. And this next pack, we only have 20 positions available.
Correct.
And so if you have subscribed to this pack, you will have received your invoice today. And if you are, for whatever reason, unable to subscribe to the next pack, please let us know, because we do have a waiting list of people who want to join in.
Yeah, we're giving first priority to you guys, the ones who smoke with us on a Friday night, the ones who are obviously subscribed to the current pack. You get first priority. But we had to make some difficult decisions in relation to how we continue with the Cigar Professor, with all the lockdowns and stuff having ended. There's less people are buying cigars. They're not joining us. Our numbers have dropped off in subscribers and in viewers, and so we decided just to keep it really small. So please do make sure you jump in.
But I do have a few of the pack 7s still made up.
Nice.
So I am happy to let them go at $50 off.
Ooh, hello.
So instead of being $4.97, they will be $4.47. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, look, I think I'm going to have to get off my lazy ass and get another email done, I think, with a full price.
Mind you, 2 of the cigars are still in customs.
For pack
I
9.
paid the ransom last week, and one of the weights on one of the cigars was out by 1 gram or 2 grams when they checked it. And so they've gone and done a whole recount, and they now are looking at ransoming us an extra couple of $100 because they multiplied it out.
Such nonsense.
They can't understand that it's a nominal weight that's given. So, because they request a weight per cigar, and you can take, 10 cigars out of a box of cigars and end up with 5-6 different weights out of 10 cigars.
Correct. If you're weighing them down to the 0.1 of a gram, and then
and literally they are weighing them to the 10th of the gram.
Yeah, and then you've got this reality that not every manufacturer publishes the weight, because most of the time it doesn't matter. It's only insane governments like ours where it really actually matters. And so you end up having to use reference material like, the typical weights. Okay, I got to go help Edwina for a minute, guys. Family stuff. Excuse me.
Okey dokes. Oh, well, guess who's in charge now? That was an easy way to get the show under my control once again. Oh, hang on. It looks like Topher muted you out, the cheeky man.
Sorry.
There we go.
I think his backside got kicked. That was cute.
Mm.
We enjoyed that thoroughly, man. I think it's going to be a relatively quicker burn for the size.
It's burning quick, but you know what? There are a lot of cigars that will start off quick and then slow down. You've already dropped your ash?
Because I was like quarter of the way through already.
You're a quarter of the way through?
Yeah.
My goodness. What are you sort of sucking it in and blowing it out in the same breath?
I don't know. I think I might have been at 62 or 63 lately before I smoked them. So not a good idea, the amount of cigars I smoke, but hey, that's all right.
I think there's a little bit of a coffee note coming in for me as well now.
Cacao type profile. I'm about 5-10 minutes ahead of you. Guess what I'm burning tonight?
Oh, yes.
And what a smell.
You want to tell everybody about it?
Topher gets jealous, man. He just
That's all right. He's not on the show at the moment.
So this candle was given to me, a really dear friend of mine, handmade, natural beeswax. And the profile of perfumery is out of control. You got a bit of cedar, sandalwood, tobacco. Would that be correct, James?
Mm-hmm. Leather.
Leather. Damn.
And Cuban jazz club funk as well.
Oh, yeah. We need that bit of funk in there.
That's it.
I'm going to purchase some beeswax, about a few kilos of it, and pass it on to you. This is just amazing. Going beautiful with this cigar.
The foot smoke on this has actually got a really pleasant note to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's remind me of that. Not so much caramel, but that cedary slash.
Almost a bit of licorice to that foot smoke as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah. But I'm still going toward more of a chocolate caramel slash that muskiness. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful cigar. Beautiful cigar. That's what Daniel said. He said that he's getting a pure cacao, and that's what I'm exactly getting, a pure cacao.
Yep. It's definitely a chocolate in there.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I have a confession.
Do you?
Don't worry about it. I'll tell you later.
No, I thought we were just about to rebrand the show "Confessions of a Cigar Smoker."
Yeah.
It's not a bad brand. It's not a bad brand.
Now I was gonna say, Topher, that I was actually sick and tired of you guys talking about this fucking stupid cigar. I'm like, what? This just nonsense of a cigar. But gotta be honest, gotta be truthful. At Cigar Professor, no matter the brand and where the wrappers come from, blonde or dark or whatever, this is a really nice cigar, man. Demo, I take it. It is a very nice cigar, and probably the best in Southern Draw I have. I've had some horrible cigars, and I was really over them, and some really good ones, and this is a good one.
Well, I'm actually impressed with the draw because a previous one wasn't drawing as well as this. So there's a little bit of variability in the actual rolling of these. But that's got to be expected, especially when you're talking about a stick this big.
Yeah, look, David Linehelm seems to be the one who's reporting so far that they might have got the short end of the stick. So David, apologies. Fairly difficult draw, he says, not unusual for such a long stick. That is true, and we appreciate you being philosophical about that. Hopefully the perfect draw tool, or maybe a bit of a massage or something, can help with that. Oh, excuse me, with that.
Yeah, so, for some of our newer smokers, when you do get a cigar that is a bit tight on the draw, if you just gently squeeze and roll the cigar between your fingers and work your way along the length, you'll find a spot that has a hard knot in it. And then if you actually just massage and gently squeeze and roll that piece of the cigar, generally you can loosen up the leaves to actually get the draw to come through there. So
that moment right there, Damo, that's literally the reason why Omar agreed to come on the show. He's been waiting 2 years for it, and he finally got what he wanted.
That was. Can you do that one more time, dude? It was really good.
Get the fingers in the right position and just just like that.
That's right. That's right.
I did say to my wife, I hope that my mother-in-law is not watching tonight because there is going to be a lot of innuendo.
Yeah, poor mother-in-law. Hopefully she's not watching, man. I feel for her.
Well, I just think
getting to the point where I think it's going to fall because it's got that wonk to it.
Yeah. Mine's already got quite a crack through it, but I think that might have been contributed to when I put it down to go and help my wife. My son split his lip. I put it down a bit too fast, so I think I might have caused that. I'm actually just going to knock it off before it drops all over me. Yeah, it was barely hanging on. Came off so easily.
A bit what Damo said. It's a perfect draw. It's an absolutely a perfect draw.
You know what's funny? When you look at reviews, which I was earlier today, you look at reviews and they comment on how perfect the construction is. Razor sharp burn, great construction, great draw, all the rest of it. Well, Daniel will attest, and he mentions it here at Fell. Oh yeah, razor sharp burn. I mean, it's just great. So I had one that fully unraveled on me. The whole cigar was literally coming apart in my fingers.
Damn.
And I then sat with Daniel, and he smoked one of these, and I smoked a Padron 1984, or 1894, whatever it is. Sorry. And his came apart in his fingers in exactly the same way that mine had come apart in my fingers. The whole wrapper was unraveling. It was horrific. Like it was as bad as I've seen. And I got really worried at that point because obviously Damo's bought it on the strength of his experience with it and on the strength of the reviews, which are stellar. You can go online, you'll find the reviews. Like they talk about the construction quality. And here I was thinking, oh dear, what have we got our hands on here? But no one so far is reporting anything like what happened to Daniel and to myself, which is really weird because it's not like it's Daniel's one was sent to Daniel and he stored it. Mine one was sent to me and I stored it. So if it was a storage issue, you would think it wouldn't have happened to both of us. So I'm really, really unsure what happened. But I'm absolutely delighted to report that this stick is doing everything that you want a premium stick to do. It's just beautiful.
That's an affirmative. And then
I'm starting to get some leather coming in on mine as well at the moment.
All right. Richard's got a question for us. Now, this is a bit intimidating because Richard almost certainly knows more about cigars than I do. He is an absolute stalwart of the Australian cigar scene. And so if he's got a question, chances are I don't know the answer. But
I would disagree. Sorry. I think everyone knows more than you about cigars. So don't feel bad about that. That's okay. We work it out.
I remind you, Omar, that I have the power of the mute button. Okay? Just keep that in the back of your mind. Rocky Patel, Special Reserve Sun-Grown Maduro. And I don't have the next comment yet, so I can't complete the question. Sorry about that. But as that comes in, I will put it to you guys. But I will warn you, Richard knows his stuff. So this might be one of those ones where we go, we don't know. Sorry. We'll take it as a question on notice. We'll come back to you next week. Daniel, are you and Tim Molesworth friends? Because when I go out to a pub with Tim Molesworth, he orders ginger beer, just especially to spite me. You are pairing this cigar with Bundaberg rum. I've tried so hard to like you, Daniel, but I mean, seriously, there are just some lines that shouldn't be crossed. All right, so Richard's asking, what are our thoughts on the Rocky Patel Special Reserve Sun-Grown Maduro? Now, I've had the Rocky Patel Special Reserve, but I don't believe it was the Maduro.
I don't think it was the sun-grown Maduro. Because that's actually got a separate label that says sun-grown Maduro on it.
Okay.
And I don't think I've had it. It might be amongst my stash of cigars to evaluate, but it's not one that I think I've had at this point in time.
Yeah. So Simon's questioning the sun-grown Maduro. Yep, that is how they label that cigar. That's literally what it says. So Richard, I think you're beyond the ken of us three, the three cigar professors. We actually cannot comment because none of us, to my knowledge, have personal experience.
Well, it does seem a little bit paradoxical, doesn't it? Like you usually have your Connecticut, your sun-grown, and your Maduro.
Sure.
Now, my understanding is limited, and this is really going to be probably a Whiskey Pete question. But my understanding is that the Maduro is a particular cultivar of tobacco plant, as well as a very specific method of fermenting it to get that dark oiliness out of it.
Yes.
Sun grown and shade grown is really just two methods of growing. So I guess, except for when you get something that's deliberately says shade grown, everything else is sun grown.
To my knowledge, all Maduro is sun grown. Why they would specify sun grown, is that just marketing, or maybe perhaps they've selected the leaves at the very top of the plant with the most sun exposure? Like there might be some very specific thing to do with that. But yes, why they would market them as both seems a little bit odd. David Linehelm, funnily enough, I know the RP sun-grown stick, not sure if it's a Maduro. I'm going to guess that if they're labeling the Maduro as sun-grown, that they're probably, that's it. It's the sun-grown Maduro. It's very nice, but it has a strong nicotine finish. I will say, Richard, I'm not sure how often you've joined us. David is he's our nicotine canary. He's the first one to notice the nicotine. So for David, a strong nicotine finish may not be one that you would consider to be a strong nicotine finish, Richard. But David, nevertheless, on the flavors, regards it as very nice.
Calling him
I'm just doing a quick skim of Cigar Aficionado's review on it, because it did come number 2 in 2016, that cigar.
Yeah, okay.
And it said that last year, Rocky Patel decided to create a Maduro version of the original of that line. It's got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. Yeah, look, it's just a darker, stronger, more complex version of the same cigar, pretty much. So it's just a darker outer wrapper on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so the Connecticut broadleaf, and so now it gets really confusing because it's a Connecticut broadleaf sun-grown Maduro.
Yes.
Talk about the ultimate contradiction in tobacco terms. For those that are new to tobacco, Connecticut usually refers to a really light color and often a lighter flavor profile. But the Connecticut broadleaf is an entirely different thing. It's an entirely different genus of tobacco. Yes, it can be grown and fermented in such a way that it is a Maduro wrapper. So it is simultaneously a Connecticut, a sun-grown, and a Maduro, just to confuse everybody.
Gotta love that. Actually, I was looking at Daniel's comment I saw the other day on Netflix, a doco on 125 years of Bundaberg Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that they've actually released for the 125th anniversary some special lines of boutique small batch rum that have been aged in different barrels and different blends and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I should explore my rums a little bit more because they are obviously a very popular drink worldwide. They must have something going for them, but I've never been able to get into them. And I wonder whether it's partly, so my first real exposure to rum was actually when I was in Colombia and Venezuela, and I was given a bottle of white rum, and it was supposed to be amazing. And I was trying to drink it like a whiskey. I was just sort of sipping it neat. I'm just kind of like, is this meant to be mixed? Is this meant to be not drunk neat? I just sort of don't understand it as a drink. But yes, I probably shouldn't be quite as hard as I am on Daniel, who does defend himself and says it's not just any Bundaberg rum. It's been aged 15 years and it's given it a really smooth, bold flavor that's pairing very well. So good for you, Daniel. You enjoy that.
I prefer my rum in my ice cream, personally.
Or in like Christmas cake.
No, I prefer brandy in Christmas cake.
I'll take whatever I can get. So long as it lights on fire and gives me the entertainment and I can light my cigar off the Christmas cake, then I'm happy.
Unlike Omar, that's got psychological issues with Christmas cake.
Ooh, do tell. That sounds like a story.
It's not a Christmas cake. It's
Look,
any.
You know, garlic. What garlic is to vampires, Christmas cake is to Omar.
I see.
Even muffins. So start.
You want to keep him away from your humidor?
Damo, just
shh.
let Omar dig his own grave here. Omar, what is going on with you and cakes?
Well, I love cakes, but I think in grain or in pastry, fruits, dry fruits, bits and pieces in them doesn't do it for me. Can't be fucked.
I'm going to reluctantly agree with you. I don't actually like Christmas cake and like all those fruit cakes, mince pies, all that. Like, I don't actually like them. They're redeemed exclusively by the amount of alcohol in them, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or like mine, where I actually soak the fruit in alcohol for about 2 years before I make the cake. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
See, the problem is the cooking actually gets rid of all the alcohol that was there before you cooked it. It's the alcohol that you add after it's cooked.
Yes.
That actually is still there.
That in the brandy in the brandy sauce that goes on top.
All right, so long as there is. Otherwise, I'm going to say no to your Christmas invitation.
This has been going so good so far. There's not much of a change in the actual cigar. It's
not a lot of journey.
It's picked up a little bit of sweetness now. I think I'm starting. Well, it's a bit hard to tell. Not quite into the second third, but heading towards the end of the first third. It's getting a little bit sweeter for me.
Yeah, I've got to say, your earlier concern, Omar, about the burn speed, I have lost a little bit of ash. I cracked it when I put the cigar down earlier, so that's not purely representative. But I've been lit for a solid half hour now, just over a half hour, and I'd say the burn speed's actually really respectable.
Yeah, I still find it a little bit fast. Probably I had him at 63 or 64, something like that. So it's touched drier than my average as well. But
okay, yep, that might do it.
And he's just sucking a little bit too hard on the cigar.
Well, who can blame him after that demonstration you gave earlier, Damo?
Got him all
just
up.
instinct.
Very good.
You know?
Very good.
Well, speaking of drinks, I'm actually drinking a drink that Omar gave me.
Ooh.
The only exception is that I've added extra bitters to it because I don't think it had enough bitters in it. Gave me a new brand of lemon lime bitters, but it wasn't the right color. It was clear, and lemon lime bitters should not be clear.
No.
So I put a bit of my own bitters in it to give it the right color.
It's got to be the Angostura bitters. It cannot be any...
is. That's what I added to it.
Okay. So. Now, I used to drink a lot of lemon lime bitters, and I used to enjoy it. And then I grew up. My balls dropped, my voice broke, and I started drinking like grown-ups, adult drinks. And I haven't touched lemon lime bitters in probably 3 decades. But I will admit, I was recently out. My wife's very pregnant. She was having a lemon lime bitters. We were at a pub drinking with some friends. And I had a sip of her lemon lime bitters because I watched the bartender make it, and it was really strong. It was a lot of bitters went in. I was like, oh, that could be good. So I had a sip, and sure enough, I enjoyed it far more than I would like to admit. And so instead of confessing that I still like girly drinks, I'm going to side with Simon here, who says that your drink there, Damo, looks like a urine sample.
Simon.
Well, a few weeks ago, my urine sample would have been a bit more redder than that. So,
that was
yeah, that's a cautionary tale. How have you been since that last round of surgery? Is it all good?
Yeah, finally, I can say it's all behind me now.
Right,
as of last week, I'd say it was about the last of the tail end of it, and it's good to not have to think or worry or be plagued by it anymore. So,
yep, good. No details, please. Yep, good. Glad to hear. Happy to hear it. Moving on. No details, please. I'm glad to hear it. This is milder than I was expecting.
In there for me.
There's a sweetness.
The sweetness. I just can't pick what the sweetness is, though.
This is smoking very pleasantly mild at this point. Now, I haven't reached the end of the first third yet, so that may yet change. But as Omar observed earlier, there's not a lot of progression. There's not a lot of journey in it yet. But just effortless. I don't mean this in an insulting way. This is something that we do sometimes say about a cigar in kind of a derogatory, damning with faint praise kind of a way. I don't mean it like this. But I could really see this being a golfing cigar.
Yep.
It stays lit really well. You can put it down, go and tee off, come back to it. You know it's going to still be lit. Yep. It burns really well without you paying any attention to it. The flavor profile is nice and not demanding. It doesn't require your attention in any way, shape, or form. And so in this case, I don't mean it as a negative, but you really could smoke this and enjoy this whilst, I don't know, working in your wood shop or playing a game of golf or, you know, doing any one of a bunch of different, doing some gardening, etc. You could have this to accompany other activities, and it would really go very, very well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you'd only need one cigar for the year round of golf instead of the usual two.
Well, exactly. Exactly. I mean, this thing's a monster. So here's a question without notice for you. How much do we know about Southern Draw as a brand? They're not one that I've personally looked into very much.
Look, I saw an interview with a guy who heads up Southern Draw. Probably a couple of years ago when we launched the Cigar Professor, and it was a brand of cigar that I was, after having seen him and listened to his passion and his vision and idea of cigars, it was one that I really wanted to include in the packs. But his cigars are more expensive than most cigars in America. They are the premium cigars in America. You know, these are cigars that are generally selling for, you know, $9 to $14 mark. Yeah. And in America, because cigars are so cheap, people don't like to spend that sort of money on a stick. You know, they want to spend, you know, $4 to $7 is the typical spend. Yeah. So it was one that was difficult to get in, but it's just of recent, there's been a few sales on this particular brand, and we've been able to include a few of them in the current packs. And I believe I've actually got one in the next pack as well.
Oh, very good. Because we had the Rose of Sharon in pack 7, and that was delightful.
That is a gorgeous stick. And I tell you what, that stick thoroughly improves with age. Omar
Okay.
and I got some a few years ago, smoked them fresh. Like these were, you know, probably not even a year old from when they were rolled, and they were a bit green, a bit grassy, a bit hay-like.
Yeah.
Weren't a pleasant stick. Before we actually committed to buying the Rose of Sharon for the last pack, I reevaluated those sticks. I pulled them out and said, okay, Omar, we've got to do this again. Let's sit
Yeah.
down. Our palates have changed. Our tastes have changed. Let's reevaluate these cigars before we purchase. And we were both shocked, like from what we remember the first time round when they were really fresh. Because I remember getting them and it was like, you know, like it was like it had the date on it. It was like May or something. And we were smoking them in August or September or something like that.
Yeah,
So there
wow,
wasn't
6
a lot of
months.
time from the date
Yeah.
on the box to when we were smoking them. But just given that couple of years to sit on them, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Better than the one we had in the pack as well. Like,
Yeah.
really creamy and smooth and
Well, the one in the pack was a highlight of the pack. It wasn't the cigar of the pack, but it was certainly a highlight of the pack. It was a beautiful, beautiful cigar. And it's just interesting to me. Cigars are an industry that are really split into two. There's the real traditional kind of cigar companies, and that's of course what Cuba likes to trade on. They like to trade on this idea that they're the authentic thing and nothing else is quite the same. We of course disagree with that. But even in the new world cigars, there are companies that are very much focused on being traditional. They're all about what cigars have always kind of been. And then there's these other cigar companies that are coming in and having a bit of fun with it and playing with it a little bit and doing their own thing. And Southern Draw seems to me like a company. I mean, this cigar here, it's tobacco from 4 different countries. These people are reaching far and wide to find the right tobaccos to blend together to make the exact flavor profile that they really want. And I'm here for it. I'm really enjoying some of these companies like Southern Draw that are just having a bit of a play.
Well, we do. I just checked the list for the next pack, and we do have a Southern Draw in the next one. I was sure it was. I just wanted to double check. It's the Southern Draw Fraternal Order White Lancero.
Oh, Lancero. Ooh, hello.
So I thought we've been enjoying the Southern Draw in these packs. Let's continue exploring that particular brand. And given you're a Lancero fan, why not do it in a Lancero?
Ooh, I am pleased. Tim Molesworth would have spent a long day, last day of pre-polling. I expect he probably spent the whole day standing there trying to convince people to vote for him or some crap like that. He says, back on, sorry, I'm really too busy for you lot. Yeah, whatever. Get over yourself, Tim. But I just can't get enough of Omar and his fantastic beard. It is like, I'm just going to get the comment out of the way so we can see it. Get your hand out of the way, Omar. Like,
see, that's a perfect color match to Omar's beard.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. And Omar, you know that compliments from me to you are few and far between. But that is actually, that's a movie character worthy beard. Like, no, it is. Like if that popped up in a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know, on a character, you'd be like, oh yes, like bring it on.
I'm not gonna lie, Damo. It was coming for a while. Went through a personal problem about 4 years ago, from no gray to all gray. You know, as you know, that stress is a big deal in our lives. It does a lot of things. And nonetheless, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot because I always had a full beard. And I'm actually surprised how many comments people are making. Said, you look like this, that, who's that? So I'm liking it.
It's a great beard. I hate to compliment you, Omar. You know that, but it's a great beard.
Thank you.
Simon is listing a few of these sort of new cigar companies that are sort of taking this new approach of experimenting and having fun. Room 101, absolutely. We had their Farce in the Lancero, no, in the Longsdale Lancero, in pack 1. That was a fantastic cigar. Drew Estate, I think they're a fantastic example of a cigar company that is playing with what cigars are, and they're just having fun with it. And now some of them are misses, no doubt. Some of the Drew Estate stuff I'm not a fan of. Some of it's absolutely spot on. KFC, I really like the Stacker burger in a large meal with the chips and probably with a Mountain Dew.
I'm pretty certain. I'm going to just double check with Simon on this one, but I think KFC is he means Kentucky Fire Cured cigars.
I I'm sure he does, but I just couldn't miss the opportunity for some shit stirring.
No, that's right. And Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, I believe, is what the other one that he's got there as well, which we've done in our pack as well.
Yeah, we've had some from all of those.
I've never had a bad one of their cigars, and Steve Sarker, what a character! He doesn't give a shit what anyone says.
Yep.
And it's just like I think the best thing is that he had all these people pester him to make a certain type of Connecticut cigar, and everyone and he didn't want to do it. He didn't want, and everyone was, so he just actually, it's like, right, I'm going to do it, and then he called it NLM TFAL or something like that. So it's supposed to, like, now leave me the F alone, was basically the acronym.
Yeah.
And it's actually become a really good seller for him. Like, I think people buy it just to stir him up. He's a guy that if he's not happy with it, he won't actually release it. He'll actually, he spends so much time getting the blend right. And I tell you what actually happened. This has just got to be, it makes our freight issues look bad. He had 2 pallets of a limited edition.
Ooh.
There's some normal cigars in there as well, but in there, the bulk of it was a limited edition one-off for a special one-off release last year. The 2 pallets just went missing in transit.
What?
Never to be found again. It's like, how the hell did 2 pallets of cigars just disappear into the abyss? I'm sure there was a healthy insurance claim on that, but
it would be.
Yeah, everyone was crying because he comes out with some absolute crackers, and he's got a cigar called the Unicorn, and it comes in its own little individual case. It only comes as individual cigars. You don't buy them by the box or anything, and it's $100 a stick.
What?
That's the price you put on it. It's like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Like, a cigar's not for you. Go and find some other cheap crap to smoke.
See, I respect that. And Simon Henry here is saying the Unicorn, $100 USD. I respect that, but it comes in its own coffin apparently. I have to say I struggled with Room 101 because that was started by. He was a jewelry guy, and he started a jewelry company and called Room 101, and he just kind of made the decision. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go into cigars as well. And there was a part of me, and this is a few years ago when I first came across him, and there was a part of me that really wrestled with that. Like, it felt really inauthentic. It was kind of like, no, you have to be in cigars for the passion of cigars. Like, there's these people. Yeah, Matt Booth. Thank you, Simon. You're an encyclopedia. It's not fair. You have to be in it for the passion. You have to have grown up in it. You have to have been doing it all your life and blah, blah, blah. And then his cigars were so damn good, and it just pissed me off. And I had to just kind of accept that, what, if you've got the taste, if you've got the knack, then you've got the knack. I mean, who are we to say you've done it the right way or you've not? He's just one of those people who's got that. An inaugural contributor to AFT magazine. There you go.
Well, it's completely off topic, but I miss our in-person HERF. I'm really, really looking forward to the next one. That thing got to happen, man.
Yep. Yeah, we weren't able to make one happen when I was last in Sydney, unfortunately. Just never quite worked out. No, we need to do another one for sure. We need to do another one. I'll be back and forth to Sydney in the new year, probably twice in the first half of next year. So I'll keep you posted on the dates for that. We'll see if we can make something happen.
Cool. And so we're doing the Christmas cigar on Wednesdays now. So that will be really good timing, considering the Friday people will be really busy. So I think that time it's going to be some good cigar shows coming.
Yeah, I think so. Now, Simon, continuing to be the encyclopedia that he is, says Steve Sarker gets the girls who roll in the factory to occasionally sign the back of their bands as a self-conscious quality assurance check, just to have them thinking about the fact that their name's on the cigar. I like it. I didn't know that.
Last week's cigar, did anyone notice the QR code on the inside of your band?
I did. I didn't scan it, though.
It takes you to the website and shows you that particular cigar on their website. So,
well, that's boring. You know what they should do?
Well,
it should take you to the 24-hour long YouTube video of Rick Astley singing Never Gonna Give You Up. That's what it should do.
Topher.
Only if you can claim it as parliamentary expenses, Tim.
the thing is, Tim has asked this question a couple of times. So I just want to let Tim know that I have a extremely rare cigar that 4 of us going to have together if he makes it. Very rare cigar. I'm not going to say what it is. You guys wouldn't have heard of it. It's been aging. I don't age a lot of things in my humidor. So
That's true.
You don't age anything in your humidor, to be honest.
So, Tim, when you pop in, we're going to have this cigar together.
Whoa. Big call.
Big call.
Big call. All right. Well, we're going to have to find some time to get to Sydney. I'm due in Brisbane in March.
Why do I sense there'll be a begging, pleading raid of something out of my personal stash at some point in the future?
Well, Tim Molesworth's got his cowboy hat on.
Any cigars that Omar doesn't want to smoke and wants to put some age on, he gives them to me and says, "Can you keep them?"
He's coming. We're looking forward. We're looking forward, Daniel. Pop in, dude.
Well, Daniel's got a nice double garage with a couple of couches in it that we smoke at and enjoy hanging out in when I'm in Albury. So I don't know when you guys are coming to Albury next, but if next time you're passing through, Damo, on your way down here to do a demolition job and, I don't know, blow up Parliament House or something. No, I didn't say that. You're doing some sort of a disposal job down here. You'll have to swing by Albury.
Disposing of the government.
No, I didn't say that. We'll have to swing past Albury on the way through. I'll come up and join you.
I've still got to get those bumper stickers made up that says Guy Fawkes, the last man to enter Parliament with noble intent.
Ooh,
I reckon that'd go down well.
That will get you in some trouble.
We could sell those on the Topher page.
Yeah. Yes. Well, look, people keep telling me I'm just a grifter, so I might as well lean into it. You know, just lean into it and sell as much crap as I can.
Well,
There are
talking
rumors
about selling stuff. Your next batch of coffee bags has been packaged today.
Wonderful, thank you,
I
Omar.
will be picking them up tomorrow.
That is Brew Coffee, Brew Australia, courtesy of the Cigar Professor himself, which is where courtesy of the Coffee Professor, which is where the Cigar Professor actually got its name from, is Damo's business that already exists. It's been running for many, many years, called the Coffee Professor. And he looks after all of my quality control and the roasting and the grinding and the packaging. And can I say, I'm assuming you got this message from Wendy, Damo, but I'd like to send out 2 of the sachets in each of our Cigar Professor subscribers packs, if we can do that, please. Okay. So make sure you hang on to a few. Tim's been enjoying it, and Daniel's ordered some. And look, getting some really good reviews. It is filter style coffee. If you're someone who it has to be espresso or nothing, well, this is not going to be for you. It is filter style coffee. But as far as filter style
what you need to
goes,
do is do an instructional video comparing the 2 different pouring techniques to whether you drink it black or drink it with milk. Because if you do like that stronger style flavor coffee, as you're pouring the water, you really want to get those coffee grinds agitating and swirling and stirring up. And you get a higher extraction, a stronger cup, especially if you want to put it with milk.
And I think also the kettle that I've got, I bought a kettle that could give me 95-degree water specifically, but it's got a very broad mouth on it. And what I'd love is actually a kettle that's almost got like a thin, really, really narrow spout on it for exactly that purpose, to be able to hit those coffee grinds and really get them stirring up a lot more, because it does make a difference, no doubt about that.
But I tell you what, I reckon the last batch we did was definite improvement on the first batch. We managed to just dial in the dosing and the grind on the packaging a little bit better.
Well, I've had nothing but compliments. I've had 2 people that have said they weren't happy, and I've spent time talking with both of them because obviously I want to know why and I want to understand how can I improve the product. In both cases, what it came down to was that they hadn't understood that this was filter coffee. They hadn't understood. They were expecting espresso. So we've changed the language in the marketing and on the website and so forth to make it really, really clear. This is filter coffee, because obviously I don't want people being disappointed. But so far, everyone that has just simply drunk it for what it is has thought it was absolutely fantastic. And that's a credit to you, Damo.
I just got a really lovely licorice note come through on my puff then.
Oh,
really nice licorice.
Nice.
Really nice. Like that dark molassesy black soft licorice.
Yeah, nice.
And that was a note that I've been getting off the foot smoke for quite some time now. So it's actually nice to have picked that up when drawing on the cigar as well.
Yeah, I'm getting off the foot smoke. For me, I'm getting a real nuttiness with a hint of fennel, a hint of aniseed, a hint of something. There's not a lot there, but there's just something there.
And there's that muskiness there, that muskiness that Omar was talking about earlier hasn't left. But into this second third, that muskiness has become quite a soft, sweet muskiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sweetness there without doubt, which often the darker wrappers do bring a certain level of sweetness, usually a bolder profile, but also sweetness. Simon asks, just an aside, anyone aware of why it is that the perfect repair glue dropped from 4 mil to 3 mil per bottle?
Yes.
Well, you do know.
Yes. Basically, pricing pressures was pushing prices up, and they didn't want to have to jack the price up. I think the original goal was to keep the price the same, or to at least minimize the price rise on the bottle of glue.
Well, that's boring, because I was going to say, what year is it? Are we blaming the orange man, or are we blaming Bidenflation? Which year is it? But yeah, okay. So there's your serious answer.
And you'll notice that with products right across the spectrum over this year and the next couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, we're seeing it with cigars themselves. We're seeing it certainly with the shipping costs.
Hey, who knows? We might even see small cigars start to get fashionable in America.
Oh, goodness. Wouldn't that be a change? It blows my mind to think that they're paying 10 US. They're paying, what's that, sort of, no, it's not even 16. It'd be, I don't know, 14 to 16, somewhere in there, Australian dollars for this in the US. That's just insane.
Yeah. It's insane.
That foot smoke is really quite delightful. I'm actually enjoying that foot smoke between puffs, actually.
Going to put mine down. I think I've been puffing on it a little bit too much. Started to introduce some slightly harsher flavors, but I reckon that's user error. So I'm going to let it sit for a minute. So, Damo, you've been starting to work again with the fireworks, bit of the disposal. You had the Disney run lately. Have you got many gigs for New Year's?
Disney was June, July. Actually, that was quite an exciting thing. Everybody on the production tour was from an American company. They had to follow all the American rules. Me being a local contractor, I only had to follow my own rules. They preferred if I did follow their rules, but they weren't going to make me, which I was very pleased about. The typical American freedom and liberties that they believe in, mostly. So I didn't do anything. There was no hand sanitizing. There was no face masks. I didn't even give a stuff about social distancing. So I didn't encroach on people's thing, but I didn't jump back as soon as someone came near me. I was the only person on the production that didn't get COVID.
I was going to say, you really set out to make a point. You didn't even shower for the last 12 months. So that's how committed you were. That's funny, isn't it? That's funny. So have you got many gigs for New Year's? Where can we go to see one of your fireworks shows live?
New Year's, I'm back at Coogee again. It's not my gig. It's actually a gig that belongs to another company, but they've the company that does Lake Burley Griffin at Canberra every year has that one as well. And because that's the bigger of the couple of shows they've got on the night, all of their crew are focused on that because that's an absolute mammoth. It's probably the biggest show in Australia outside of Sydney Harbour.
Yeah, wow.
But Coogee is the biggest show in New South Wales outside of Sydney Harbour. So it's sort of the second biggest show in New South Wales.
Yeah, nice.
So I'll be doing that one again, although rumor has it that because of the way finances are, that it will be a smaller budget this year, but it's still bound to be a very good show. So if you're in the eastern suburbs and want to watch a show, head down to Coogee Beach.
If you're too poor to get to the bay.
It's actually quite a dismal year this year. Normally I have about somewhere between 13 and 15 of my own shows in December. At the moment, I've only got one confirmed, and I've got to go meet with some people next week about the possibility of a very last-minute organisation of a second show, and that's it.
Brutal. That is brutal.
So, and there's a plethora of problems there. The 2 years of not doing anything, a lot of people just don't want to put the effort in to organising those events anymore. Councils aren't making it easy with the amount of hoops that they're making people go through to do these things. And a lot of these events, particularly your carols, are run by Lions Club, Rotary Club, Parents and Citizens Associations, not-for-profit groups and stuff like that, schools. And they just don't have the resources to put the amount of effort in to comply with all the bureaucratic red tape. And also just trying to find sponsorship this year is being quite difficult. Some of the events that, used to get, because to put on one of these events, by the time you hire the stage, the sound, the lighting, the big screens and the camera crew and the portaloos and all the fencing and everything, most of these events are costing, around about 40 to 60 grand to put on.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but, when you've got all these businesses chipping in $4 grand, $5 grand each, and then all of a sudden all of them turn around and say, oh, we can only give you $500 or $1,000 this year. All of a sudden they've gone from a 40 grand operating budget to a 10 or 15 grand budget. Fireworks were the first to get axed from the event. So
it was the Lord Mayor of Melbourne has come out in an op-ed. Was it yesterday? Made a statement yesterday, I think it was, claiming that Melbourne is back, bigger than ever, and that we've come back more courageous and stronger. And I don't know what planet she's on, but she's not living in the same city that I am. That's for sure.
Well, politicians don't have any legal requirement to live in reality, do they?
Nope.
No, and they're financially insulated from the consequences of their own decisions as well, which is not an ideal thing. Tim, if Daniel Andrews loses tomorrow, I will be on the streets of Melbourne City. I will be on Spring Street in front of Parliament House before midnight. I can tell you that, along with probably tens of thousands, if not more, of my fellow Victorians. It is going to be one hell of a street party if Daniel Andrews loses.
I hope to see you smoking a cigar as well.
You know what? I've got a special cigar in my humidor that I've been holding on to since my wife and I were in Venezuela. It's a Bolivar, and we got it in Venezuela, and I brought it back, and that was the cigar that I was going to smoke when Nicolas Maduro lost his grip on power in Venezuela after seeing all the damage that he had done, whether it was dying of old age or getting thrown out or elected out or whatever. I mean, not that he can be elected out; he owns the elections there. But whatever it was, once his grip on power, once his time in power was ended, I was going to smoke that cigar. And I am very tempted to repurpose that cigar for Daniel Andrews if he loses tomorrow.
You do have the Fuente Opus X Angel Share that you got from me out of my personal stuff. That could be your alternate.
It could be. It's nice, and it's a nice big cigar that could take me a little while to smoke, which I won't be in a hurry. So I'll have time on my hands as I wander around the streets of Melbourne celebrating.
It's beautiful sweetness in this stick at the moment for me. Absolutely gorgeous.
The sweetness definitely came back. It was more pronounced after I let it rest for a few minutes. I had been not massively, but I had been over smoking it just a little bit, and letting it cool down, letting it sit has definitely helped. Simon's getting stuck into your 100% chocolate again, Damo. Got to say, it is much more silky smooth than I remember from last year. Could be some variation in the back.
Look, Simon, I'd love to get some honest feedback on the show. So in previous years, interesting thing. So that particular chocolate that I use is quite a rare chocolate, a Peruvian chocolate that it only grows in Peru, and the government's even protected the species, that they're not allowing any viable matter out of Peru, so they corner the market on that particular chocolate. But I was always concerned that my chocolate was a bit too acidic in its flavour. Anyway, when I was in Tasmania, I came across a chocolatier that was actually selling the same chocolate, but it wasn't made up as 100%. It was made up as a dark milk chocolate, about 56, 60% dark chocolate. And I was actually quite impressed to see that it had quite a lot of bright acidity to the chocolate as well. So obviously that particular cultivar of chocolate has quite an acid flavour to it. But what I did with this last batch is I actually pushed the roast a little bit darker, trying to cook off some of those acids. So I am interested in whether people think that the flavour on this current batch is still to the liking compared to previous batches, because I'm in two minds. It's definitely dropped some of its acidity, but I think it's also lost a little bit of the fruitiness that came with that acidity as well. So I'm a bit torn as to which way to go with the next batch that I roast soon.
See, when it comes to coffees, chocolates, etc., I'm realizing I'm very much a dark roast kind of guy, because that stone fruit sort of flavor that some people really look for and prize, I don't really love. That's not why I'm drinking a coffee. It's not why I'm having chocolate. So I haven't had any of this most recent batch, I don't think, but I might need to order some and just see. I really love, when it almost gets a little bit dusty.
Yep.
It can be with coffee and with chocolate and like really dark chocolate as well. That's actually what I really, really like in a chocolate and in my coffees.
Cool.
Here's the report from Simon. A single square, it melts in the mouth, isn't all that fruity, but zero bitterness. There you go. 100% chocolate melting in the mouth. That is an achievement.
Yeah, actually, I did let that batch conch for an extra 24 hours than usual. So normally I do it for around about 48 hours, but I pushed that one through to a 72-hour process time on that one. So just to try and get that sort of, when, chocolate's a whole thing. It's not just a flavor, it's a texture and a whole package experience. And so when you detract from one part of it, you sort of try and compensate in other areas. So
yeah. Sounds like you've done something right. Daniel, you've been working in the Smith Street in Fitzroy again, have you? How are you making $8,000 in a night? That raises some questions. Not dusty at all.
Daniel, send me a message after the show. I'll give you some suggestions.
Not dusty, silky smooth, right on the tip of the tongue. The texture is almost like rendered fat. Wow.
Oh, that's good. The other thing it's interesting too is chocolate actually does age. A lot of chocolate on the market is not put to market as soon as it's made. They actually let it rest for a period of time, which is anywhere from around about 4 to 12 weeks before it hits the market. For me, as soon as it's made, it goes on the shelves for people to buy. So given the fact from when I last made the batch to now, that time has definitely passed. So they definitely would have improved the flavor profile over that time it settles.
Yeah, right. Right. So you weren't handed $8,000 for services rendered. You withdrew $8,000 to go and buy a car. Well, that's a bit less exciting, but fair enough. Fair enough. Congratulations on the new car, by the way, Daniel.
That car needs what Omar's car's got. That's a humidor. It's stopped.
I refuse to buy a car that doesn't have a built-in humidor these days. I have standards, and I refuse to bend.
What car are you buying, Daniel?
And be warned, Daniel, the last person on this show that announced that they were buying a car went on to have an accident a week later and wrote the car off. So I'm just saying, just saying.
That was Cos, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He hasn't been on the show for a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen Cos for a while. It'd be good to see him again, but had some
and
card
Big Kev.
dramas.
It'd be nice to see Big Kev again.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I might have had.
I know why he's not here anymore.
Yeah, I might have contributed to that. That's a sad story. But you know what? Why dwell on the mistakes of the past? Me and my fat fingers banning the wrong person. I actually just banned someone, I don't know, 2 minutes ago who was putting in spam into YouTube. Their username is 69xxx.fun. So you might have some idea of why they might have been banned. Oh, hello, a Kia Carnival. Nice. Well, that'll get you and the kids and all the hockey gear around. No problem.
Cool.
Actually, a friend of mine's got a Kia. He gave me a lift today, and he was actually telling me that his car's still got warranty because they offer a 7-year warranty on Kia cars. And Kia actually they rang him up as one of the customers because he has to take it back to them to service under their warranty. Sure. They actually offered to buy the car back from him for 10 grand more than he bought it for. But the trouble is, for him to go and buy another car would easily be 10 or 20 grand more than what the cars were when he bought his anyway. So,
because prices are just ridiculous at the moment. For what it's worth, because we are a cigar show, I might as well report the bands have come off perfectly easily. The glue just let go beautifully. There was no over gluing, no nothing. I've got to say the construction on this thing in every respect has been flawless.
I got a touch of harshness, so I might have to slow down a little bit.
The first band came off easily. The second one doesn't quite want to release yet, but the heat hasn't quite got into it. So,
tell you what as well. You were right to comment earlier, Damo, that longer cigars, you can get more of that tarring issue. And touch wood, I'm halfway through the cigar. There is absolutely no moisture at all. There's no buildup. There's no nothing. Right now, it is looking absolutely perfect.
Beautiful stick. Beautiful stick.
Most certainly. It's a beautiful stick.
What are we a good hour into it too?
Yeah, well, hour and 10.
Hour 10?
It just makes me all the more confused with what happened with the one that I had earlier. And Daniel, like I'm literally confused because they do not seem like the same cigar at all.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, to be clear. Simon, I'm ripping the bands off like a fat kid eating cake and zero rapporteurs. That's all right. Good word picture.
Starting to get a little bit of that spice coming back in now into the final third.
So, Dames, have you told the viewers next pack what you got there completely yet?
We did talk about it the other week, but I'm happy to run through it again. Just because we're still got a couple of the sticks in custody.
Being held
with
for
probably
ransom.
Additional ransom owing, which I'll probably find out on Monday. So we've done it 2 years in a row. Thought, why not make it 3 years in a row? For our Christmas week stick, we're doing the Monte Cristo white label again.
Same original batch with yet another year on them.
Same batch. We're going to do the Nub Connecticut 354 again because that was a popular, and it's also one of our most popular sticks that we sell. So it's like we put that in. Pack 1, we had the Ave Maria Immaculata in a Robusto. This time round, I have put it in as a Bellicoso, which is a 6x54.
Yeah.
So an inch bigger.
Freaking massive.
And it's a torpedo.
Yeah.
The comment earlier from Simon about Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, and that was one of my enjoyable sticks that we had in a previous pack. Same batch. So we've got the Sobremesa Short Torpedo. We've got the Undercrown Shade Connecticut Corona again.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Nub Sumatra 460. That was one of Omar's favorites. I have dipped into my own personal stash again.
I'm excited about this one.
This is out of my personal humidor. Some Perdomo firecrackers, which are now 3 years in aging in my humidor.
That's wrong, man. That's wrong.
It's only because you want them.
He wants them in your will.
Yeah, that's right. We did the Perdomo ESV Connecticut. We did the Sun-Grown and the Maduro. We did those in a Robusto size. This time around, we're going to do them in the Prestigio size, which is a 6.5 by 54. So we're going to go for a bigger brother of
Oh, man.
Massive.
That's delightful. That sounds delightful, dude.
Yeah.
That's good.
To keep Omar happy, because I'm putting the firecrackers in, Plasencia Reserva Original Robusto. I did try to get the Cortez, but the Cortez sold out, so it's back to the Robusto. We've got as I mentioned before, the Southern Draw Fraternal Order White Lancero. We actually have our very first stick that we kicked off Cigar Professor with, same batch.
Chairman Select.
2.5 years in my holding. Gurkha Chairman Select Perfecto. We will have to be careful with that stick because as they age, the wrapper does become a bit thinner.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, the Southern Draw Fraternal Order White Lancero. Now, the other one, we all enjoyed the Nasty Fritters. That was a lovely
smoke bomb
surprise. Anyway, the Deadwood Tobacco Co., which I actually went to when I was in America last time and enjoyed their cigar lounge and had some cigars there, they actually partnered with Drew Estate to come up with their own take on that same stick, and they called it the Crazy Alice. Right. So it looks the same, but it is just a slightly different blend, ever so slightly. So we've got that one, and the last one in the pack is the Excalibur Short Crystal, which is a 5 1/4 by 50, basically a Robusto. So
yeah, wow.
And that's what the next pack.
Couple of monster sticks in there. That'll be good.
Which ESV you getting?
It is the Prestigio, Connecticut.
Oh man,
Simon's been sampling some of those for us. He's been a regular customer, chopping up his humidor, and he's gone through a few of those. His review is they are a lovely, lovely smoke.
Damn.
First sign of a wonky burn. Not worth touching up yet, but worth noting because the burn's been so razor sharp until now.
All right, Dames. So since the cigar is going for a bit, how about we go back to the memory lane about this pack and have a sort of mind wobble and see
what have we had in this pack so far?
Yes. Let me get the list up. Let me get the list up here.
I've got a list, but I haven't got the order which smoked it in. Actually, yes,
no. I've got it here. It'll take me a minute to find it. Where is it? Let me just do a search for it.
That's me find it.
All right. So week 1, all the way back September 9th, because if you remember, we skipped a week. The Crux Limitada Gunner, which I remember fondly, but kind of pales into comparison with some of what we've had since, to be honest. Good stick.
I did like that cigar. I really did like that cigar.
Yeah, good stick.
That was a beautiful stick.
It was followed by the 2 Hammer and Sickles, the Connecticut and then the Natural.
Oh, yes.
And they just kind of overshadowed it. I mean, you can hear just from the reaction, like they just overshadowed the Gunner. And there's arguments about which of those 2 was the better, but they were 2 very, very good sticks.
Never going to get those again. Oh,
no.
Talking about those sticks while they're on the subject, I actually contacted the company that bought now I can't remember whether it was Fox Cigar or Smoke Inn. One of those 2 cigar companies actually bought all of the stock of that particular, when the company basically folded up, they bought out everything and sold it off. I did ask them whether that was going to be re-released, and they did say unlikely. So I probably never see that cigar ever again.
That is a shame. We then moved on September the 30th to the Oliva Connecticut Reserve Petite Corona. Now, I'm an Oliva fanboy. I really wanted that to be an absolute standout cigar. It was okay.
Yeah.
Didn't really make much of an impression. I got to be honest, even as an Oliva fanboy, not one that I would reach for again in a hurry. Not bad, but not one that I'd be finding a different Oliva over that one. The Monte Cristo Espada Guard Toro. Now, from memory, I think
number 1.
Yeah, that had some support. That was a very, very good cigar. Stick, now, one that snuck up on me, I wasn't entirely sure, but boy, I did enjoy smoking. It was the Brickhouse Robusto.
Yeah, good cigar.
That was very, very smooth, very, very smokable. One that I would happily have again.
That one's known as a daily smoker in America. That's your cheap daily smoke.
I assume that's just due to the price point. But it was just a good cigar. Alec Bradley Reserve Maduro Robusto. Got to be honest, didn't leave much of an impression on me.
It was good, but it was not amazing. It had a lot of people had blockages and all kind of issues with that.
Yeah. Genesis the Project, Ramon Boeso, which is why I can't pick it up because it's full of ash, but we've also got the Ramon Boeso ashtrays as well as a result of this. Good.
Yeah, it was
good, but not great.
I think where you went into it expecting the taste of a dark cigar on the color, but it was supposed to be a dark looking cigar for those that like light cigars.
Yeah.
It just, I think I've given this analogy before, but do you remember the movie I Am Legend was it Will Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
In its own right, it's a really good movie, but the marketing, they didn't let everyone know that it was a zombie flick. The marketing hid that fact. It was clearly a survival movie, but you didn't know what the scenario was. So then when it hit the cinemas, they actually copped a lot of backlash from people who went into it. And they're like, I didn't know I was signing up for a zombie flick, right?
They should actually re-release that and call that movie 2021.
Have all the zombies in masks. And it's not because it was a bad movie. It's just because expectations were set incorrectly. And I think that's what happened kind of with the Genesis, the project was, I don't know, the color, whatever it was, expectations were just set a little bit wrong.
You go into it expecting one thing, and when it doesn't deliver what you're expecting, you're disappointed.
Yeah, not because it's bad, but just because it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. The Macanudo Gold Pyramid. Now, this is one that you were talking up, Damo, and it was good. Mm-hmm. But again, I feel like my expectations just going into it were just so high.
It was a good cigar. It was not like, changing the world.
Now we had the Caldwell Blind Man's Bluff Robusto. I've got to credit you with this, Damo. Another example of a cigar that I would have just overlooked. I would never have tried it. I would never have tried. Really good stick. Last week, the Warped Maestro del Tiempo.
That's a good cigar. It was a good cigar.
Great cigar.
A good cigar.
Great cigar. But I got to say, this one tonight, I mean, we do try and leave a few of the better sticks towards the end of the pack. And this week and next week, that was the idea.
I reckon the next week's stick is going to be something else.
I think next week's stick's going to be a contender for Cigar of the Pack, no doubt about it. But I've got to say, this one is putting a really good case forward.
My burn's just absolutely gorgeous. Look at that.
Yeah, nice. Mine hasn't corrected, but it hasn't got any worse yet, so we'll see how it goes.
I think I'm picking so far, my top out of that is the Monte Cristo. It has probably the most complex cigar, one of the most complex cigars I've ever had.
So you rate the Monte Cristo?
Yeah, I think the complexity is I was like really shocked. Really, I was like, wow. And I remember if you go back and listen to it, the amount of comments that we were getting, bang, 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 people saying, no, it's this, but it's that, it's a bit of that. And
yeah.
It was constantly.
It was a busy show. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's still up. And I would say Hammer and Sickle, Connecticut is probably my number 2.
It'd be up there. It'd have to be.
Yeah. So far. And I'm really looking forward to next week, man. Really looking forward to next week.
Yeah, the Espada was a standout, Simon. Here, the Espada had a flavor change from puff to puff. Yeah. That put a really good case forward for itself as well.
Very surprising.
And that was a long stick as well.
Yeah, big stick, massive stick. Bigger ring gauge, quite good.
Well, it's certainly been an adventure, this pack. Have we saved the best till last? Well, we won't know till next week, but there's a good chance we have.
Well, that cigar and the Vitola up from that size that we're smoking actually won Cigar of the Year. So,
yeah. Yeah, you'd hope it's going to be good.
It's very good. I'm telling you, I've had a couple of those.
All right. It's weird to say this with so much cigar left, but I'm entering the final third now. You're well into the final third there, Damo. What are you getting?
Still sweet for me. Nice soft leather. Bit of nuttiness in it. Still has that muskiness to it. Foot smoke's still got a cedar with a very, very faint. The licorice has gone a little bit more aniseed, fennel-like on the foot smoke for me as well at the moment.
I was going to say, for me, the flavor profile has actually moved more aniseed. I had hints of it in the background earlier. I feel like it's starting to move through, accompanied by a little bit of vegetation. But this now, the flavor profile is picking up. It's heading more towards what I think is a genuine medium. It was a mild most of the way through, even though it's rated as a medium to full flavor profile cigar. I would say it's been mild up until quite recently. A little bit vegetative, a little bit of fennel, definitely. And then some earth tones moving in behind that as well. Just a bit of a deeper, richer kind of earth tone.
Yeah. I've still got that sweet muskiness in there just before the finish on the palate.
My big disappointment with this cigar is they've only put one ring in it so far.
It's not even a proper ring. It was a wannabe ring kind of thing.
No, I had one proper ring earlier. Thank you very much. I know how to blow a ring, mate. I know what that looks like. No, I had one good one. Yeah. Look, I've worked very hard on my technique. I don't think I'm very good at it yet, but I've invested many hours working on my technique of blowing rings.
Yeah. You got a few more hours to go, dude, before you.
Sadly, you're not wrong.
Do you have some kind of obsession with rings?
Well, I wear one.
No, like other kind of.
It's the only thing I wear. I don't wear anything else, you know. Well, I mean, clothes, but that's only because they sue me if I don't.
I'm finding a touch on the palate. It's got this. I know you guys are calling it evasive and herbal and all that, but it's getting a bit dark. Touch bitterness.
And there's some earth tones moving in for me. That early on, we had that slight roasty sort of flavor, and I expected that to sort of move through to a charcoal, which it really hasn't done. But I feel like, along with these earth tones, I feel like that could be the next. Yeah. That feels like where it's heading.
Yeah, I'm getting
into campfire, charcoal sort of flavor notes.
Yeah, I can get that charcoaly note coming in there a little bit.
There is something hitting the soft palate. It's not a bitterness in the traditional sense. It's not a pepper. What is that? It's almost a sourness on the soft palate. It's just this tightening of the soft palate. I think it's related to that vegetative note that's coming through. I think it's coming through with that. I can't quite pick it though.
The nuttiness in there is also a little bit hazelnut-like, I think, now.
I'm not going to dignify this comment by reading it out loud.
That's a quarter of a ring there.
Yeah, see, I don't count that. That's not a real ring. Yeah. I had a real ring earlier.
Did you sleep while you were smoking a cigar?
Well, if you'd talked a little bit more, I definitely would have nodded off.
That's when you get the ring.
It's weird. I feel like it actually needs to be smoked more now. It was double puffing beautifully all the way through, and now it's just, I feel like I'm having to work to keep it properly lit just that little bit more now.
That sourness and that soft palate note that you're getting, I'm thinking that's a little bit lemon-like
Yeah, there's
Soft
something.
lemon.
Yeah, there's something there. It's quite unusual. I've not had it hitting that far back in the palate before.
Like deep in your throat.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually when I blow rings, it doesn't go near the back of the throat, you know.
How's David finding this stick?
That's a good question, actually.
He's probably passed out. He's probably
Yeah, now be nice. I like David. Don't be mean. But being such a big stick, I expect there would be some nicotine. I'm not feeling any just yet, but I expect there would be some as you get toward, because the simple fact is when you're using that length of leaf, you're going to end up with stem. You can't not. Let me know what happens with that ash, with the ash dropping, Damo.
Just gave it a little purge as well then.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those cigars where you know you've smoked a cigar.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so David early on was saying he was enjoying the flavors, although it was a bit tight on the draw. Now he's saying I found it rather bitter, and plus the nicotine kicked in fairly early. So safe to say, not a favorite of David's.
Yeah, I agree with the bitterness. Nicotine.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do when you're trying to use that length of the leaf. Interesting theory here from Simon. I suspect there might be a bit of short fill in there to make up the body. I have noticed it doesn't hold its ash spectacularly well. It has dropped its ash a little bit more often than I would expect, which would tend to reinforce that theory. And walnuts from Daniel as opposed to the hazelnuts.
These guys are really into nuts, right?
So what do you do on a Friday night? Well, I go on a live stream chat show where we talk about blowing rings and nuts and girth.
Yeah.
Moist.
Moistness. It's going by the inches now.
Yeah, Simon, that's pretty much the story. I mean, that's about as much as I've had at any point in time. That'll probably drop on me pretty soon.
Yeah.
So there's a sharpness.
Effortless burn.
Oh, yeah. And, I said before mine got wonky. It's still slightly wonky, but it's slowly correcting itself. I haven't done any touching up. It's got a lovely shoulder on the wrap. You can see, the San Andres tobacco wrapper. It's just got that lovely thickness to it. You would often see that with a Maduro. And it's generally a good indicator. There's a lot of oil in there. There's a lot of body to the wrapper, and it usually indicates you're going to get a good burn, which is certainly what's happening here. Pretty sure that comment will get me banned if I read it.
Probably.
So that sourness has moved forward. It's now moving towards the tip of the tongue. It's almost like it wants to be a white pepper, but there's just that little bit of lemony sourness that's come through with it. That slight burn, that slight heat, and a little bit of sourness.
Roger.
That charcoaly note's coming back a little bit for me too since the ash has dropped.
I'm getting the charcoal now. I'm not sure it's the ash. I think it's just where you're at in the cigar. There's definitely some charcoal in there.
Yeah, ash doesn't last very much. It just drops.
The weird thing is, if I was smoking and you came and joined me, you're like, oh, hey, just drop by, and I had that in my hand, you'd assume that was the entire cigar that I'd started with.
That's right.
That's actually,
if Omar stuck to smoking these cigars, he could probably cut back to about 4 or 5 a day.
I reckon. Maybe at a time.
More like it. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I had a rare Friday because Scotty and Fiona were both unavailable to work. I was stuck on my own. I just had one cigar all day.
You actually had to do some work.
Yeah.
You okay?
Well, I didn't have any cigar, just one breakfast.
Dude. And it's a good thing we're smoking such a big one tonight, just help you sort of recover.
Yeah, I'll have one soon or a couple before I go to bed.
Like AFL players and athletes have ice baths. Omar has a southern draw.
Recovery.
Yeah.
Recovery index. And my life become hell because my wife had this have to pick up food, had to have kids with dinner with kids, and it was just such a tight sort of schedule. Just one cigar, the second one.
Look, I feel your pain. I actually hadn't had a cigar all week until earlier today. When I was outside, the weather was nice temperature, light breeze, and I made the mistake of bringing my humidor outside with me, and all of a sudden I'd smoked 2 cigars this afternoon in the lead up to the show. So I've had a 3 cigar day.
Wow.
That's different.
Omar needs a Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
No, he needs a Woody. Omar needs a Woody.
Boys.
Wonder if you could just import it and declare it as a baseball bat or something like that. A walking stick.
Self-defense weapon. Oh, no, that wouldn't get in.
Yeah.
At some point in time, we're going to have to make enough money that the 3 of us can head over to the US and do some live streams from American, tobacconist cigar shops over there.
I'll hook you up. I know a few people there, and when you guys are ready, let me know. I'll be the first one to put.
We could do it from one of the cigar conventions.
Oh, yes,
in Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah, they're usually in Vegas or.
I'll tell you what. Look, I don't know what they're like at the moment, but pre-COVID, you used to pay. You'd pay a fair bit of money to go to one of these cigar conventions. It was like $200-300 US. But as you walked in, you got a sample bag, and that sample bag would usually have like 40 or 50 cigars in it. But then you actually get to go around to all of the exhibitors, and the exhibitors are all giving out their new cigar samples as well. So if you're really good at what you do, you can actually go there for the 3 days, and you usually end up with about 150 to 200 cigars.
Sign me up, man. Sign me up. Yeah.
So, Damo, I don't know what sort of conversations you're having with our subscribers. I don't think I want to know. But Daniel says, so are we going to start declaring them as sex toys, Damo, via our conversation this Arvo? You have a very different relationship to our subscribers than what I do, clearly.
That's bad.
Yeah, from what I've seen, this is Simon. From what I've seen, the conventions are a bit tighter on what they will give away now. But it would be amazing to go to Smoke Fest or something in Las Vegas, just for the experience. Just for the experience.
We could actually go to one of the industry trade ones actually over there. Would actually qualify being a business.
Yeah, it's
cigars,
true.
So.
It's true. That's probably where all the merch is being given away.
Yeah.
Another comment that I can't read.
I'm starting to get a little bit of a nicotine hit, I think.
I'm a bit earlier in the cigar than you are, but I've got probably the very first shades of it. Very first shades of it for sure.
If I'm just starting to get a little bit of a feel for it, the world must be spinning for David.
Poor bloke. This might be a 2-session cigar for David. Just go halfway, snip it off, come back to it a few hours later.
Omar's trying to work out what everyone's talking about.
He's confused, but that's normal for Omar.
Yeah.
And now for our regular travel segment. David, have you been over to Florida for your cruise yet? Sounds nice.
Florida's the cigar capital of America.
Certainly is. A lot of Cubans there, people who know their craft.
Yeah.
Actually, in my next trip to America, we'll probably be going down to Florida and visiting a few of the headquarters of the cigar manufacturers.
Yeah, nice.
Quite a few of them actually got cigar lounges in their premises there, so you can go and buy some of their cigars and sit there and have them there and then.
That's the way it should be done.
This is just Damo's nicer way of saying he needs to check out Nick Perdomo's nuts or something, but that's okay. It's like, what the fuck? Just say it.
What happens in Florida stays in Florida.
Stays in Florida.
Exactly.
Look at the smile.
Look, I'm loyal. I'm loyal.
It's almost like Nick watches the show or something. Like Damo is like, it's performative obedience. It's not just, he doesn't just support them. He's like, he's got to be seen to support them. All right, Omar?
There's some good places. Love the Smoking Shop. That is a massive mofo shop. David, you're going to be surprised, dude.
All right, Omar, it's put up or shut up time. David wants specific advice. Going to Miami in January. Where should I go for supplies?
I would go for Davidoff. They got some amazing historical sticks and Smoking. They're the two that I think they're the biggest. But Smoking, I would go definitely Smoking Shop. That's massive.
Actually, I want to go to London and have a cigar with what's their name again? Sakian?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Davidoff shop in London.
Side by side 3, and they're all big deal. Yeah. Davidoff of London.
Eddie Sarkisian.
Yeah, him and his son, they apparently still go there every day.
I tell you who is I don't mind watching his YouTube channel is Kirby Allison. He's sort of that whole gentleman's sort of type thing, the shoes, the clothes, all the bespoke stuff, but he's into his cigars and he keeps going over to London all the time for some good cigars over there.
Yeah, I call him a New Yorker with very English etiquette and sort of,
And he plays it up. Like he knows he's playing it up.
Yeah.
Well, this, having criticized the ash, it's actually holding really well. But I suspect that's probably because I'm now down closer to where the stems actually are.
Yeah. Oh, Mexico.
I love Texas.
If I couldn't live in Australia, if I was banned and kicked out of the country, I'd be heading for Texas.
I went to some cigar shops in Dallas. It was disappointing.
Yeah, okay. See, I don't think Dallas is real Texas.
Nah.
Dallas Fort Worth, I don't think is real Texas. I enjoy San Antonio.
Yeah.
A lot. But it's actually like Texas is one of those places where you've just got to go on a driving trip rather than flying into the major centers. You've got to drive and stop in all these little middle of nowhere towns. It's just amazing.
Houston is good.
Yeah, San Antonio, Houston.
Last in Texas, was driving past this. It was very unusual to see a 2-story house because, in America, everything's just like single story and spread out because they got, so much land.
Depends on where you
There's
are,
a
but yeah.
two-story house for sale on a block of land which would probably look like it was 3/4 of an acre in size, thereabouts. And I can't remember the exact price, but I was looking at it and was like, I could actually buy that house and land on my credit card. I was like, it's so cheap over here. So
yeah, and it's funny because their sense of distance is really different to ours. I live in Melbourne, but I'm 50 kilometers away from the CBD, right? And you can still easily pay over $1 million for a house here around where I am. Not the house we're living in, but you could easily pay 1.1, 1.2 million for a 2-story house with a view in my area, right? 50 kilometers out of Melbourne. Up there, you go 35 miles out of, most of their major cities, and you're going to find stuff that is a fraction of the price. And if you're willing to actually just go into a semi-rural area, the buying is so good. My brother lived in the outskirts of Tennessee. What was it? It wasn't Memphis. It was Nashville, Tennessee, in a beautiful 2-story house there, couple of $100,000 US. It's just absurd. Probably a half-acre block of land.
And the whole entire Tennessee is scenic.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
So I landed in Nashville, and I had to drive to a place called Centerville, and then past Centerville. It's not a hugely long distance, an hour and a bit. And I saw a shade of green that I've never seen with my own eyes before, and it was just these pine forests.
Yeah.
And I'm driving through, and they've just cut this road through, and you've just got solid pine forest on each side of the road, and there's this road snaking its way through. And the green on those trees is a shade of green I've never seen in Australia. I've never seen a green that rich.
Have you been to Smokies?
No, I haven't.
Dude, I've smoked so many cigars in Smokies that were making fun of me that you're making the Smokies go. But it is absolutely pictures. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pay 1.2 million for some houses in Albury. Yep. Crazy stuff. The company I work for has an office in Houston. Great real estate, but most of our assets are in shitholes like Saskatoon or Escondida in Chile. Yeah, okay.
Actually, one of the areas I do like in the States is sort of between Connecticut and across to Boston. That area there is quite nice as well, especially in the fall. The colors that those trees get, the trees literally look like they're on fire. The vibrant reds, oranges, and yellows that they get on the trees is just unbelievable. Like you'd swear the trees were literally on fire. The color that you get.
I was in Montreal in autumn at exactly the right time in autumn, and you could see the shade changing because they've got Montreal. It's Mount Royal. It's the hill that's right in the middle of the island, and you could see the color of the trees changing as you looked up and down. At the different elevations. It was phenomenal. We were there for nearly a week, and you could actually see them changing as days went by. It was just the most phenomenal thing. We just don't see that here.
Actually, when I was, can't remember where I was, most of my trips in America are quite the whirlwind, but the hotel I was staying at, I was just sort of asking them there you go, another ring, where there's any good restaurants. So there's a restaurant just down the road, get in your car, turn left and go to the lights, turn right. And I looked on the map and it was literally like 200, 300 meters away.
Yeah.
their idea of like you drive 200 meters, 300 meters. So I just like, stop it, I'm walking.
But then you try
that was the trouble.
Yeah, exactly. You try and walk it, and then you discover, there's no footpaths. As soon as you're outside of the most inner urban areas, they do not facilitate walking at all. All right, we're down to the business end. What are we thinking, guys? What are we getting?
Ooh. Definitely a vegetative note, but a bit of unusual funk in there as well. Can't quite place it.
I'm still getting a little bit of smokiness. It's not the charcoal that it was earlier, but there's a bit of smokiness in there. Vegetative note for certain. That sourness, that white pepper sourness has moved more specifically towards white pepper for me. White pepper on the tip of the tongue, a little bit of funk, and a little bit of vegetative note to go along with it.
Oh, we're getting close to 2 hours.
Yeah,
we're about an hour 50 at the moment.
You're at an hour 50. I'm at slightly less because I lit up a little bit later. But yeah, hour 50.
Not a cigar if you're in a rush.
Probably, yeah. Reach for something different. But boy, I mean, if you've got an afternoon to spend and you just want a cigar that's going to look after itself, not demand anything from you, and yet still deliver interesting enough flavors, it's a good stick.
Yeah.
Grabbed a Drew Estate acid smoke last week. Sweetened tip, but the tobacco had zero flavor. So when I was on my journey from, I started cigar smoking, don't laugh, with the chocolate flavored cigarillo things. Enough out of you, all right? You just don't make me mute you.
Don't go there, dude.
And I moved from that into sort of the wood-tipped vanilla cigars, and then, of course, moved from that into real cigars and haven't really looked back. But I experimented with an acid Cuba at one point because I was kind of interested in what Drew Estate were doing with the acid series. And the very first one I had was relatively early in my journey, and I quite liked it. It went down really well for me. And then I came back and had another one about 3 years later, maybe 4 years later. Horrible cigar. I hated it. And it was exactly what Simon's pointing out here. The tobacco itself, like, they're not using premium tobacco in these infused cigars. Why would you, right? You're infusing it with all these other flavors. And once you've smoked enough cigars, you can really taste it. You just, I just can't do the acid series anymore.
Have you tried the Nub Cafe series, the coffee infused nubs?
You sent me a few of those a little while ago, and I think you sent me one of each of them. And I actually found, because it was the whatever it was, the normal one, there was a double espresso and I think a triple espresso, like where they were just making it sort of stronger. And the stronger the coffee flavor got, the less I liked it.
Yeah.
I just wanted, give me a Nub Connecticut, a Nub, any Nub really that hasn't been infused.
That sounds about right.
Well, that ash is holding well.
Yeah.
Burn's gone a bit wonky on me right at the end here. Speak of the devil.
Boom.
Now I'm just going to quickly flash that high side while I've got a chance. Get that going again. Let's see what that does to the flavor. Oh, that's a lot of pepper. That's a lot of pepper. I mean, I just flashed it as well, so that's not going to help, but a lot of pepper all of a sudden. Tip of the tongue, top lip, lots of white pepper.
Lots of pepper.
That will settle again. I'll get another couple of okay puffs out of it before I have to put it down, but pepper's definitely kicked up a lot. Definitely a cigar I would have again.
Oh, for
a
sure.
Cigar that I would only reach for when I'm really in that mood, where I'm like, no, I've got all night.
Yeah.
You want to know that you've got time. It doesn't demand your attention, like we said earlier. You could be doing something else at the same time, but you want to be able to put aside the time.
This would have to take the record for our longest smoke, too.
It's our biggest cigar, so no surprise there, really.
I think the Monte Cristo went for about an hour and 40 minutes or something, 30, 40 minutes. That was a quite big.
We've certainly broken an hour and a half before, but we've just ticked over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hour and 55 of actual smoking time for you guys. And that's definitely a record for us.
Mm.
I'm getting close to probably putting it down, but I reckon I've got a few more minutes left in it. I think I'll hit the 2 hour mark.
Yeah, 2 hour mark for sure.
It's definitely still smokable. I was a bit worried, and you alluded to this earlier, Damo. The longer sticks, sometimes when you get down to that nub, it can just be awful because it's got all of the byproducts of 2 hours of smoking. This is still very smokable. There's no tar, there's no buildup, no humidity sort of bubbling out of it, nothing. It's just peppery, but still really good.
Yeah.
And I think, truth be known, you could probably actually smoke this cigar a bit slower than we've smoked it tonight as well. You could probably get about another 20, maybe even 30 minutes out of this if you really slowed down.
Definitely.
That's the thing. If you were, in your wood shop making something or doing some other activity, you'd get 2.5 hours out of this, maybe with one relight along the way where you've left it for a bit too long. And it wouldn't suffer, I don't think. That's what this is. That's what this is. You know those blokes, we've all known them at some point in our life. They're retired and they've turned their garage or their back shed into a wood shop. They've got machines. They're doing bowl turning or doing whatever that might be, whatever their particular hobby might be. If that bloke was a cigar smoker, every afternoon, go and play croquet in the morning and do whatever, and then come home and have lunch and then head out to the wood shop in the afternoon. And this is what would accompany him all afternoon.
Yep.
I probably resonate with this cigar. I do a little bit of reading, and I think you slide this thing up and you read and you write down your notes and you're going and you're thinking and all kind of things.
And if you fall asleep and it drops into the book, you wake up and you're on fire.
Just starting to get a little bit of pepper coming back in now.
Okay.
Just starting to get a little bit of heat coming through now too.
Definitely some heat, but I mean, how can there not be when there's so little left?
It didn't get really hot though, which is nice.
Yeah, on the fingers. No, it's fine. Quite cool burning on the fingers. I've got to agree with Simon here. Probably the only critique would be not a lot of journey.
Yep.
We've spent 20 minutes at a time talking about other things and then come back to the cigar with really not a lot to report. Beautiful smoke production even now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's me. I haven't changed anything.
Not at this end for me either.
We're blaming you, Omar, which I mean, we always do for everything. So what's new?
It's going good. I think but you do.
Vegetative, peppery. A lot of the earth tones, the charred note, even the smokiness is gone now.
I think this might be my last puff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this quite makes sense, but it's almost like the flavor is thinned out. Become vegetative and peppery and not much else.
I think mine's just starting to turn on me now. So I think that's where I'm going to put it down and let it go out. So there you go. What's that? 2 hours for me?
Yeah, bang on 2 hours. About an hour 55 for me. Wow. Well, Damo, thank you. That was a treat.
You're welcome.
That was an absolute treat.
Good cigar.
And, yeah, I'll have to get my hands on a few more of those.
Oh, definitely got stock.
I'll keep them for 30 years until I'm retired and I've got that wood shop in the backyard. You know? All right, but next week, contender for Cigar of the Pack, the baby brother of the Cigar of the Year. It's going to be a good one. And then we're rolling straight from that into Pack 9. And Damo, we haven't actually talked about this. Are you happy with the switch to a Wednesday night?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to Pack 9.
That'll be an interesting change and see how it goes.
See how it goes, exactly. So next week will be our last Friday. Then we'll still be weekly, but we're going to switch to the Wednesday night and see how that goes for Pack 9.
And hopefully the hostages get released and I can get them shipped out in time.
There's always something, isn't there? Whether it's the shipping from the US to Australia or, you know, you make an order and then they're like, oh, we don't have enough stock. And you're like, well, why did you let me order? There's always something every pack just to give us all a little bit of heartburn.
Well, the thing is, too, that these cigars were ordered like 6-7 weeks ago. So
yeah, wow.
It's been a long, drawn-out process.
Crazy. Well, Simon, it's certainly been a pleasure having you on tonight. I hope you are able to make the Wednesdays, but definitely join us where you can. And make sure you tune in next week for the last Friday night. All righty. Well, I think that's it from us. That is a new record for our longest smoke, our longest show. We will see you next week for a Cigar of the Year and the last cigar of Pack 8. And incidentally, our second birthday, by the way. We haven't really said enough about that, made enough noise about that, but our second birthday coming up next week. We'll see you then.